Okay, going to make some more boilies in a moment, and we're going to really tap into one of the many advantages of making your own bait, and that is that you can personalise and customise that bait with flavour and taste. There's a number of reasons that you might want to do that. Perhaps you're fishing on a busy syndicate water, you're baiting spots around the edge, and you just want to ensure that nobody else is going to be using that bait or the same flavour bait on the lake. You may be fishing somewhere where you know it's going to be like a long time building confidence in the fish towards perhaps a big target fish, and you might want to lower your flavour levels a little bit just so you've got a more subtle bait. In the complete opposite of that, you may be fishing a day ticket lake, you want something very high attract, or perhaps your lake has got coloured water and you really want to include as many water soluble flavours as you can in higher levels to really release attraction out into the water column and bring those fish in. Now we've got a stack of different flavours to help you do that. Got the response range, cherry juice there, out of the Profile Plus range, toasted almond. We've then got the active aids. I've got squid aid there. One thing that's really important to round off all your flavours, whatever you choose, is a sweetener. I've got sweet aid there. And we've also got the Hydra Sweet intense sweetener. And then we've got some liquid additives as well. Meta amino, really meaty type aroma to that liquid, contains lots of amino acids that the fish are going to find attractive. It aids their vitality and it's very water soluble. Things like that, multi-stim as well, they're not going to not work in cold temperatures and things like that, which is a very big advantage to your bait making when you're looking to use a bait the whole year through. And then of course we've got a choice of base mixes. Liver and marine, straight away you know that's going to be a meaty, fishy type flavour. Got the essential opal, it's got a fruit-like aroma. And here we have the essential fish, which is like a combination of the two, fruit and fish flavours in there. A firm favourite with a lot of people, the high leakage 50-50 mix. And the Protein Plus, a creamy, milky, high protein mix. So there you go, large list of flavours, some savoury, some spicy, fishy or fruit. You're only really limited by your imagination about what you might want to mix together to make your boilies, which is exactly what we're going to do next. Okay, so the first thing that we need to bind everything together is some eggs. So I'm going to make a 4-egg mix. I'm just going to simply and quickly crack 4 eggs into a mixing bowl. A couple of bits of shell that have gone in there. You can actually leave crushed shell in your boilies if that's what you're looking for like a different texture. But for this mix, I just want the whites and the yolks. So that's 4 eggs in the bowl. And then just with a fork, I'm not going to whisk like mad, but I just want to mix that white and egg yolk together. Like that. Right. The next thing that we need to do is start adding our flavours. And what I'm going to do for this mix is I'm going to use flavours from the Profile Plus range. So I'm going to be using golden honey, which is one of the new flavours. On the side of the bottle and on every flavour bottle, there's a recommended level for you to use. So for a 500 gram mix, which is the equivalent of a 4-egg mix, it says that I need to use 5 ml of flavour to be using this flavour at its optimum level. Now, because I'm going to combine that with another Profile Plus flavour, which again says 5 ml, I'm going to use 5 ml in combination. So I'm going to use 3 ml of the golden honey. that's 3 ml of the golden honey going in. Just clean off that measuring syringe. And then, like I say, to make me up to my 5 ml total flavour, I'm going to add 2 ml of toasted almond. There we go. That goes into the eggs. Clean that measuring syringe off again. And then that's all the flavours that I need. But, like I said earlier, to round everything off and give it all a nice smooth blend within the boilies, it's then important to add a sweetener. And I'm going to use the Hydra Sweet Intense Sweetener. And I'm going to use that again at the recommended level, which is 2 ml. So we'll just put a couple of ml of that in, a little bit more. There we go, that's 2 ml. Clean that off. Right, so that's our flavours, that's our sweeteners, all done. Just going to give that a little mix through in the eggs, just so that there's a nice even flavour throughout all the baits. And then the next thing to do, start adding our base mix. Now for this mix, I'm going to use the 50-50 high leakage mix. Now, as I've said before, it's important when you're using these mixes and when you're making your boilies that you don't add your base mix all in one go. Don't measure out 500 grams and plop it all in, because if your eggs are slightly bigger or smaller, or you've used more liquid flavour or less, there's going to be slight adjustments in your mix. So the best way to do it is to just simply add your mix a little at a time. So just get that mix worked through with the fork, and as you can see there, that's still a very sloppy, wet mix. So you need to continue building up the mix. Add a little more base mix. Now, the more you make your boilies, the more you use these base mixes, especially if you're using the same flavour levels and the same base mix each time you make your boilies, you will find that as you build your paste up by eye, it will become a lot quicker as to how much you need to be adding each time. As they say, practice makes perfect. Right, that paste is coming together. It's still very soft. You can still get the fork through that. So what I'll do now is I'll keep adding a little bit more of this mix, building the paste up, and I'll come back to you once we've got the finished paste and we're ready to roll. Okay, so I've added the base mix little by little. I've built up a nice paste now that, as you can see, is really pliable, but if I roll it across my hands, it's not sticking and it's not coming off on my hands, so that's perfect. Not too sticky, but not too dry and crumbly. And that's ready for rolling. Okay, one little thing that I am going to do, and I like to do when I'm rolling my baits, is I've got some olive oil, and this is unflavoured and unscented, so it's not going to affect my baits at all. And I've got around about half a tablespoon there. Just going to add that into the bowl. And then I'll just going to roll my ball of paste around in there, just to give it a little bit of a sheen from the oil. Move that bowl out of the way so that it'll roll a lot easier. Just move my bait gun a sec. It's going to roll a lot easier in a second, as you'll see. Right, so just get it into one long sausage now. Looks about the right size. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add my paste to a bait gun, and this, as you'll see in a second, is going to really speed up the time it takes to roll out a batch of boilies. So add that, put things back together. Just might have to line this up, that's it. Okay, just degrease my fingers a second. Right, now with the bait gun loaded, I just squeeze the trigger and you soon see that producing a nice sausage of paste there. And all we need to do now is roll that into boilies, and this, the baiting rolling table, is going to do precisely that, and a lot quicker than rolling your baits by hand. Now of course you don't need to have a table or a bait gun like this to get yourself started and rolling a few baits. You can simply roll your baits by hand, a little bit of paste between the palms of your hands, roll together, roll out your balls of bait. But like I say, this really speeds up the process. Just line up the top, and there you go. Nice round baits flying everywhere. Right, all I need to do now is continue doing that until I've used all the paste out of the gun, and then we can move on to the next step. Okay, so that's all the mix rolled into baits now. Took about 10 to 15 minutes using the table and the gun, so not long at all. And using that tip of adding a little bit of oil to the paste just to give it a little sheen, that worked a treat too. Didn't get any baits getting stuck to the table, so we was really able to get through it nice and quick. All we need to do now is give these baits a nice durable skin and turn them into boilies. So as you've guessed, we need to boil them. So I'll put some water on the boil next, and once it's ferociously boiling away, I'll add about 12 baits at a time, not too many. I don't want adding the baits to take the water off the boil and the baits then absorb some of that water. I'll boil those baits for 2 minutes, and once they've had that amount of time, we'll take them straight out onto an air dry tray or a nice dry towel, let them dry out for a little while before they're ready for use. So that's the boiling process complete. The baits have got a nice durable skin to them now. They've dried off nicely and they're ready for use. They are fresh baits, there's no preservatives in them, so if you're not going to use them straight away, then make sure you keep them in the freezer. Today we've used the combination of toasted almond and golden honey from the Profile Plus range, but there's a massive list of combinations that you could choose from. You're only really limited by your imagination, so don't be afraid to experiment, put different flavours together and see what you come up with.